Recording there. Okay, so welcome to the 2026 Learning Trends Report from the Simitri Group International. And welcome to many of our clients joining us today, new friends, of course, and also our staff from around the world. And thank you for taking the time out. My name's Peter Skalberg, and I'm the Business Development Director for Southeast Asia, and I'll be your host today and help present the key highlights and learnings from the Simitri Learning Trends Report from 2026. I'm joined by two of my experienced colleagues from the global team who will also be supporting the session. Please welcome Barbara Stupp and Mario Coletti. Barbara is an international business consultant, former Pan-European sales leader with about 20 years plus experience in B2B sales, marketing, and change management. She's a CTI trained coach and an expert in multicultural leadership, which we've been discussing over the last couple of days. Thanks for being here, Barbara.
Thank you. It's
Mario
a pleasure.
Coletti. Thank you. Mario Coletti is the managing partner at Next Atlas and an adjunct professor at the International University of Languages in Milan. Mario has 30 plus years in the business in terms of transformation and digital strategy. He's also a former Capgemini principal and an expert in AI and data analytics, and we'll be hearing from him throughout this session as well as Barbara. So welcome, Mario.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
So both Mario and Barbara will help provide a perspective around some of the learning trends, and we'll kind of do a bit of a key question and answer segment after each of the three learning trends that we're going to present to you. If you'd like to pose a question during the session, feel free to use the chat line and send it in on the chat, and our staff and colleagues will have a look at it, and maybe we can use it at the end of this session. So let's start. Just a little bit of framing in terms of the methodology for the Learning Trends Report. The trend report has come not only from the survey, but also what we see in the industry as key topics. We surveyed L&D leaders across the industries and geographies, about 2,000 L&D business leaders from regions in Southeast Asia, India, Europe, and LATAM. Industries such as finance, tech, healthcare, and professional services. Roles, of course, L&D, HR leaders, C-suite, and people managers. There's a lot more to this in terms of the methodology. I'm not going to go through it today, but if you have the report, you can go through some of the details. We believe that the learning approach that has prevailed in the past is now coming to an end. And you probably ask why we're thinking that. And there's a lot of information that's come out of the Learning Trends Report that's pointing towards this. What used to work, heavy content workshops, one-size-fits-all programs, no longer delivers in a world defined by constant disruption, AI acceleration, and shifting perspectives of work and leadership. Employees are overwhelmed by content, but undeveloped in the capabilities that matter most. AI is transforming how learning is accessed, personalized, and measured. Business leaders are looking for proof that learning leads to performance, growth, and real impact, not just participation. As AI becomes embedded in learning design and delivery, traditional approaches are quickly becoming obsolete. Whilst AI is a major topic and everyone's talking about it in every industry, it's just one part of a larger challenge, especially for L&D, to deliver meaningful, lasting impact and outcomes in a world of constant change. We believe the true impact comes from building the mindsets, the skills, and the confidence people need to adapt and lead and thrive in this new world. Our Learning Trends Report in 2026 shows a decisive shift towards skill-based or development, personalized learning powered by AI, and a new focus on intrinsic human capabilities. We believe that the learning approach that has prevailed in the past is now coming to an end. It no longer aligns with the pace, priorities, and expectations of today's workforce. Learning isn't ending, but rather being radically redefined. Learning must now provide ROI, support real-time career mobility, and help people thrive in what is a hybrid human-machine environment. This points to a new mindset that elevates L&D to more of a strategic driver of transformation within organizations. In a world being shaped by AI and constant change, the real learning imperative is not more technology, it's more humanity. Learning is no longer just about transferring knowledge or deploying platforms. It's about developing the human capabilities that machines can't replicate. These aren't optional extras. They are what will define performance, build trust, create innovation, and leadership in the years ahead. As AI takes over the routine, we have the opportunity to design learning that helps people stay not only relevant, but irreplaceably human. And this leads us to one of three trends. And again, over the last week or so, both Mario and Barbara and I have been talking about this particular trend as a lot of our clients are focusing on this, and it's particularly important. So I'm going to introduce this trend first, and then I'm going to have some question and answer with Barbara and Mario. So it's the rise of human-centric skills. The definition of learning is changing, and so is its value. It's about cultivating human capabilities such as empathy, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and presence, which have long been undervalued in traditional programs. In the past, learning was largely content-driven. The goal was to transfer information, whether it be facts or frameworks, technical know-how. Success meant memorizing, understanding, and then applying the knowledge in predictable ways. Today, content is everywhere, but it's the human capability that will create the impact. And if you look at the World Economic Forum and McKinsey's, they all align on what are the core skills in 2030. And I think this particular chart has been sent around LinkedIn. I think I've seen it about 1,000 times, but you know, they focus on some truths: resilience, creativity, analytical thinking, adaptability, and areas such as that. This is the space in which these are the skills that people are going to need. So the Learning Trend Report has been reinforced by a lot of this research that's already been done, and this was from the World Economic Forum. To be fully present in communication and collaboration, to demonstrate, show leadership, adaptability, and self-awareness. So when we say no longer about content, we mean that the purpose of learning is shifting from information delivery to human transformation. It's about developing the intrinsic capabilities like empathy, judgment, presence, that machines just can't replicate, but are critical in an AI-driven world. These capabilities don't come from a textbook or an e-learning module. They require experience, reflection, coaching, and practice, which is very different to what we've had in the past. At Simitri, it's not just about the theory. It's about building that innate human capabilities people can actually use. Our focus is on what truly drives performance: empathy, active listening, capability, adaptability, influence, and good judgment. These are just some of the capabilities that shape how people lead, communicate, and work together, especially when the pressure's on, when things are unclear, or when teams span cultures and time zones. That's why every Simitri experience, participants build and refine real-world communication skills through live practices, feedback, and more importantly, reflection, rather than just theory or a presentation. It's designed to help people show up as stronger leaders, better teammates, sharper thinkers in what is a shifting, fast-changing world. Now, we have a couple of questions. So Barbara and Mario are here. As I said, some very experienced colleagues working in Europe. And we have a couple of questions. We're going to draw on their expertise with a couple of questions related to topic number one. I think we're going to break this up. So I think we're going to start with you, Barbara. Let's start with the big shift. The report says human capabilities like empathy, critical thinking, and presence are no longer soft skills. They're defining performance. Tell me more about why there is an increasing importance of human-focused capabilities.
First, I would like to say there have never been soft skills in my perspective, because I think at the end of the day, this is what drives differences in performance. But I think it will now become even more pronounced, because the pure skill trainings that are very much focused on, feeding things to the head and to our thoughts, and that we understand and know something, that is a part of training that can be automized, that can be delivered to the audiences in a very buffet type style in the future. And I think a lot of this will go towards avatars and automatic training generation with AI. And that means that this will be more or less the same in every company. So what will be the differentiator? The differentiator will be how companies will be able to build human capabilities in their organization. And I think the focus will shift to that for the reason of differentiation. The other dimension is that I also see a shift in the audience. I think it is something that's being expected. I see that when we at Simitri offer trainings which are more related to human capabilities, that there is much more interest for people to sign up to these trainings. So I see that this trend will be accelerated and strengthened with AI.
Thank you. Great. Yes, agreed. I think we've got time for two more questions here. The other one, I think, let me just go back to here. You work in experiential learning and coaching, Barbara, which are not always easy to scale. How can leaders build human-focused capabilities via training and coaching?
Yeah. I think this is very much centered about the individual, and people will partly be able to do some of this themselves, like growing self-awareness to become better in managing interactions, for instance, but they will need help to make it happen. And I think what needs to happen in many companies is there need to be very experienced coaches and facilitators to develop this together with people. And that, for me, human-focused capabilities means real-time learning, challenge by the facilitator, exchange between participants, networking between participants, because we are dealing with human beings. We are social beings. So I think that to train human capabilities will continue to require personal training, either in person or online. But that is where you can really create the experience and where people can experiment and really learn capabilities.
Agreed. Great. Thanks, Barbara. I think we have one more question for our learning trends. And I might start with Mario on this one, and let's end with a practical lens. What's one human-centric capability you believe will be non-negotiable for future leaders, and why?
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for the question. Let me start first to make an analogy. What is AI? Why are we talking today about AI? To me, to make it short, because eventually the discussion about AI would be very long. To me, AI is an accelerator. Is an accelerator on gathering data, processing data, transforming data, and then all through the chain, all through the value chain of an organization. But what is the danger of acceleration? That if you don't know how to drive the car, ride the motorbike or the bicycle or whatever, the big risk of accelerating too much is actually to crash. So I go to your question, which is a very difficult question because there is so much choice in the list of skills that we could choose. But you have already mentioned at the beginning of the introduction of the trend, the combination of two that together, I believe, represent the most important skill. And this is a combination between critical thinking and emotional intelligence. Why do I put these two together? Because critical thinking is often viewed as a purely cognitive skill focused on logic, analysis, or objectivity. However, critical thinking thrives when it's paired with emotional intelligence. Critical thinking requires self-regulation to avoid impulsive judgment or bias-driven conclusion. So when you analyze data and so on, you, of course, need to have critical thinking to evaluate if the data or the information or the answers that AI, for instance, is giving to you are the truth or are fake news or are something that are hallucinations from AI and so on and so forth. So you must have that critical thinking to judge what actually you are delivering, you're receiving from AI. But emotional intelligence actually helps you to manage your emotion about what you are receiving and evaluate in a better way multiple viewpoints that you can get from the artificial intelligence. Also, empathy then help individuals to understand other perspectives and refrain from judgment before the analysis is done properly. There is another element that is intrinsic into critical thinking and emotional intelligence together, which is based on the element of curiosity. Curiosity is critical, of course, to look into the data that are coming from AI, but also curiosity is critical during L&D, during training sessions and so on, because they push learners, curiosity push learners to ask better questions and seek deeper understanding. So these elements coming together actually are becoming those non-negotiable skills. And then specifically within the space of training and so on, critical thinking ensure that people out of the learning make sound decisions, solve problems creatively, and evaluate information critically. And applying critical thinking together with emotional skills help learners to engage more deeply and collaborate and adapt to change. So these two, to me, are the ones that are totally non-negotiables for future leaders, and the one that should constantly be actually learned and refreshed over time.
Great answer, Mario. Thank you.
Did I pass?
Yes,
I would like to build.
Yes, I would like to build on what Mario just said. So, if you ask me what are the key capabilities, I would also start with critical thinking, and I would like to illustrate this also with a number of recent KPMG study, which states that 66% of employees rely on AI output without verifying accuracy. So critical thinking is absolutely important because the consequences can be disastrous. And empathy is a factor, but I would see it even broaden. I would talk about emotional intelligence, because whereas Mario talked a lot about the individual perspective and development, I think there is also a team component to it, because you can have critical thinking and you as an individual might realize that something does not quite fit or does not make sense. But then the trick is, do you voice this when you sit in a team meeting?
Yes.
Do you make this
Agreed.
perceived unpopular comment in a team meeting? And that means it is quite important, especially for people leaders, to be culture builders and to develop a culture of speaking up and trusting each other enough to speak up. And this will be critical to avoid that people will just run with what AI told them.
Yes. What wonderful, look, terrific answers, and you can go deeper on all of that because it's touching on many different other capabilities. So thank you, Mario and Barbara. I appreciate that. We're going to move on to our next trend number 2. AI reshaping the L&D landscape, as it is with every industry. We know that, but what does it actually mean for L&D? It's not surprising that L&D is not just a tool, it's fundamentally changing how we learn, who drives learning, and where it happens. The learning report shows that over 80% of organizations are already using or actively exploring AI and learning, reimagining learning as continuous, personalized, and embedded into the workflow. With AI, L&D is shifting from pushing content out to curating experiences, adjusting to each learner's needs in real time, surfacing just-in-time micro-learning, and offering data-driven pathways that directly connect to career goals. Platforms like Accenture's internal AI-driven skills machine, LearnVantage, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, shows us what's possible. Some of you may have heard about this. We thought we'd show it as an example today. Learning that's dynamic, job relevant, and strategic. Accenture. Accenture has invested over $1 billion into LearnVantage, an AI-native learning platform that deeply integrates with clients' existing learning systems to deliver personalized, data-driven upskilling. It has embedded AI into its internal talent and skills platform, enabling the organization to track more than 8,000 distinct skills and capabilities across its global workforce. Leveraging AI, Accenture can now recommend learning pathways that are not only tailored to an employee's current role, but also aligns to their long-term career aspirations. Even more impressively, the platform connects those learning journeys with real-time project opportunities, ensuring that employees apply their growth skills in meaningful and immediate ways. This isn't just about training, it's learning that integrates in the flow of the work. It's L&D functioning as a strategic engine for the workforce development and internal mobility. And it doesn't happen by chance. It's the result of intentional planning, forward-thinking investment, and a belief that AI can unlock both individual and business potential. This internal AI-driven skills engine exemplifies how L&D is being reimagined. Just-in-time role-specific learning recommendations, enables continuous skill mapping and tracking progress. Both internal and external sources can be drawn from. AI-powered tracking connects learning activity directly to business impact and ROI. AI can recommend, personalize, and track, but it can't lead. That still requires human judgment, context, and ethical decision-making, something we really haven't spoken about today. For L&D leaders, the challenge is to integrate AI without losing the human core of learning. to become architects of intelligent ecosystems where machines handle the scale and people deliver the meaning. At Simitri, we work alongside L&D teams globally to do what AI on its own simply can't. It starts with building AI fluency, helping employees, managers, and leaders just not use the tools, but understand them, question them, and then apply them wisely. We also help shape hybrid learning strategies that strike the right balance between smart technology and human-centered design. Most importantly, we help keep ethics, empathy, and engagement at the heart of every learning journey. When AI is used well, it amplifies the human touch rather than replacing it. And that's exactly what Simitri does its best work, at the intersection of intelligence and humanity. Barbara and Mario, we have some more questions for you. I think we're doing well for time, so I think we've got 2 questions here, and I think we're starting off again with Barbara, because I know you work, right across Europe, and your experience leading change programs. And again, we've chatted a little bit on this. How do you see the role of L&D changing with AI?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the role of L&D. There are actually 2 fundamental things happening in L&D. I think as an L&D leader, one thing is to apply AI within L&D. So this means the way you develop trainings, there's a lot more automation. You can have avatars and videos and all these things. And then also L&D is, it is important to drive the corporate A&D adaptation. And that requires to look broader than just giving a training on how to use AI. What this requires is to really work very closely together with business and functional leaders to really link AI training to the specific context and needs of functions and business. And then I see there is a third, fundamental thing that needs to happen, because in corporations, nothing can really happen if there is no regulatory framework. So there needs to be a policy around all these things, and that is a major hurdle right now. So I see also that L&D will need to become more active in the shaping of these policies and cooperating with the regulatory departments on this. And anything in learning and using AI has a lot to do with automatization and has a lot to do with making things available more easily. And this also requires integration with the IT systems. So in order to see which employee would need which byte of training, you need to have an integration with Teams, with SAP HR, with PeopleSoft to enable this in real time. Otherwise, you build something that is completely isolated and that will not generate the value, which will not generate the impact that is required, because you will need to invest in AI. So it's an elevated role that L&D plays in this, and can really be in the driver's seat here to make this a very high point on the strategic agenda. Integration will key from my perspective.
Yes. Maybe talk about that a little bit more at the end. That was terrific. Thanks, Barbara. Quite a lot there, actually. Last question. Actually, Mario, maybe you start off with this one. You've both worked with leaders across countries and industries. How ready are they to embrace AI?
There is a very nice comic that talk about the CEO asking, I want to implement AI, and I want to implement AI now. And the question comes and say, why do you need AI? I don't know, but I want it. I think this sums up a little bit the readiness. Readiness to embrace AI is very scattered and diverse across organizations, across industries, and across markets. And there is a nice scale of embracing AI, which goes from 0 to 5, where 0 is no AI at all, 5 is general AI, which is basically the future, or hopefully will not be the future, because then there won't be any need of people in the organizations. By some level of research, I think the average in the developed world is between 2 and 3. And funny enough, the developing world is actually going faster simply because they are starting from 0 infrastructure. And therefore, when you start from 0 infrastructure, you go from 0 to 100 very quickly. Whilst you start with some level of infrastructure, it takes quite a long to create and embrace change and drive change. So readiness is a trajectory and is a journey. And we are not even halfway to the journey to embrace AI, because as I said from the beginning, with my joke about the CEOs having no clue about what AI could do for their company, basically there is the need of a strategy and a vision that embrace or bring AI into the organization and clearly define what is the role of AI. And every organization is different, and therefore there is the need of defining what exactly are the needs and what potentially are the benefits that AI may bring into the organization in the whole value chain.
Wow, there's a lot there to unpack as well. Thanks, Mario. Barbara, did you want to add to that?
I would like to talk from a perspective as an international facilitator. As you know, when we give online, when we facilitate online trainings, people usually sign up a few minutes before. So I ask them, that's typically one of the topics I ask them. So are you using AI? What are you doing? How are things? And interesting for me is that my participants, they answer usually say, yes, we would like to use AI, but there is not yet a policy, or we are not yet allowed. And then when I continue probing, what comes out is that they say, and because there is no policy and because it's not allowed, they use their private devices to basically help improving presentations and documents. So it happens.
Yeah.
There is a vacuum in some companies, which is being filled by activity. And I think a lot of senior leaders underestimate the readiness of their people when it comes to AI. I also heard from somebody where the company has already integrated AI with company IT systems, that he says, yes, you know what I do? I asked AI, give me an overview of what did I do for project X in the last 2 weeks. And then the system will pull from Teams, from Outlook, from the calendar, from everywhere, from meeting minutes, from PowerPoint presentations, condensed a report on everything that this person has done. This is what I mean with integration. So it is happening. The point on how ready are people, this study of KPMG and the University of Melbourne that I referred to earlier, interesting is there that 48% of employees admitted to uploading potentially sensitive company information or copyrighted material into public AI tools.
Right.
And there's quite some competitive data out there, and I already in public. So companies really have to work on having their own AI universe protected to prevent this. 57% of employees hide that they use AI tools. So to your questions, how ready are leaders to embrace AI? They are embracing it.
Right. Look, some good insights there, especially the one about they're using it personally, but
Yes.
perhaps there's some
Yes.
blockages or regulations that don't allow them to integrate that in their organization. Thank you both for that. That was terrific. Again, a little bit more at the end when we're wrapping up on that subject. We're going on to our last subject, trend number 3, which is ROI is no longer optional. Learning must now prove its value tied to performance, mobility, and business impact. In today's climate of tight budgets, shifting priorities, and increased executive scrutiny, L&D is under more pressure than ever before to move from activity to impact. The 2026 report confirms that many learning leaders are already feeling that it's not enough to run great sessions or track completion rates. Business stakeholders want, well, what do we get from this investment? When learning is relevant to someone's career, their role and everyday outcomes, ROI becomes visible and trackable. The report reveals that career development is the #1 motivator for learning, cited by over 90% of respondents. This suggests a powerful insight. Learners are far more engaged when development connects directly to their growth, advancement, and purpose. That engagement in turn drives performance, retention, and cultural alignment on all metrics the business can feel. But measuring ROI just isn't about formulas. It's about designing learning with impact in mind from the start. Simitri's perspective is that you can't bolt ROI on at the end. You need to build it through skill-based pathways, behavior-linked assessments, and direct alignment with strategic goals. The report outlines 7 concrete methods for aligning learning to business results, from tracking cultural shifts and performance gains to connecting training to financial outcomes. When this is done well, L&D shifts from a cost center to a capability engine. Smartscroll is a proprietary tool designed to reinforce learning after the session ends, because retention without reinforcement is minimal. This tool includes bite-sized multimedia reflections and videos delivered post-sessions, anchored around the application with questions like, what did you try? What happened? What's next? By nudging participants to reflect and apply learning over time, Smartscroll supports behavioral stickiness that shows learning was retained and used as a key input for ROI. We're coming back to our 2 colleagues, Barbara and Mario, who have all the answers. Mario, you work with global clients on a range of subjects. From your perspective, is traditional ROI the right way to measure L&D? Equally, what metrics or indicators should L&D leaders really be tracking if they want to demonstrate ROI? It's a bit of a heavy question, I know, but I think interested to hear your perspective and answer.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Funny enough, I was in a client meeting the other week, and the client, an L&D leader, asked, how does Simitri help my organization to measure ROI? And then there was another meeting where ROI was completely unknown as an acronym. So maybe the best thing is to start from what ROI is, return on investment. And traditionally, ROI has been a financial measure, but the financial measure is a lagging indicator demonstrating past performance, not future performance.
Right.
But if you are driving and we are trying and we are developing skills, what we are interested in is actually the future, and are the future performances of the individuals that will go back to their desk and do the work in a better way compared with the previous and the past. And what I'm experiencing is that visionary CEOs today are less concerned about the hard return on investment for training or any other intangible investment. And And this is because very often it's quite expensive and quite unconclusive. They are more interested in how exactly the people are developing aligned to the strategy of the company and where the company wants to go. The beauty with AI is that AI is able to process a huge volume of data, and so can be an enabler to create or think about, let's say, a new return on investment, a new ROI, that is not only looking into performance measures, but also more qualitative aspect. So it's not to say that the ROI is not a relevant factor in measuring significant investment, but financial payback alone and traditional ROI then is not a convincing argument. L&D people need to move toward what I call a new ROI that integrates financial performance measures with measurement and evaluation techniques that connect the organizational and strategic objectives. So training success begins when, as I said before, the individuals return to their job and actually apply what they learned during the training. And so we can actually use artificial intelligence to define or structure ways of metrics that not only look at the financial performances, but include other level of measurement, such as job productivity or skill requirements measured against the initial skill possessed, efficiency rate in a way they are completing tasks, proficiency standards measured against a certain criteria, number of employee trained, obviously the training cost per employee, enrollment rate, retention rates of employees, motivation, and cohesion within teams. All those become actually measures that can be measured through the combination of data within the AI. And it's not just an exhaustive list of metrics. And this is why we work together with our client at Simitri in identifying what exactly are the measures that our client want to check. And this need to be done training by training, depending on the kind of skills that the training is actually delivering and what kind of skills we are looking for developing.
Wow. Thanks, Mark. Well, very comprehensive, and I'm sure you could have gone on to chat about this for another 45 minutes.
For sure.
But let's, I think, did you want to say something, Barbara? Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to build a little bit or expand a little bit on this. I mean, return on investment, I mean, by nature is a very quantitative factor, and we try to put things into numbers and Excel spreadsheets and be able to report about them. I think with AI and the automatization, there will also be opportunities, or let's say not just opportunities, a lot more possibilities for qualitative reporting. So when we start from that AI will allow to deliver more relevant training based on very individual specific needs, that can be linked. We can also deliver follow-up sessions with the help of AI in a very specific way. And I think then the trick is, how do you generate data from this? And what you really want is you want to have feedback on the impact of the training. And with the help of AI, you can now do this. I mean, just imagine that there would be regular little pop-up windows where people would just be asked, or something can be evaluated, and that could be fed into a system, and you could benchmark and then really see how something changes.
Yes.
So this possibility for, let's say, it's almost like real-time feedback, but also highlights the need for that. There needs to be a very clear regulatory framework, because I'm coming from Germany originally, and I cannot imagine the work councils to say yes to this if they have not been on board on a lot of these conversations. So that needs to be carefully navigated. But the point I want to make is that as we all know in this field, it's not just a quantitative measurement. There is a qualitative dimension to trainings, and AI will give us more opportunity to also report on qualitative measures.
Thanks, Barbara. Yes, that area of qualitative is quite important, and how you measure it, especially with all the capabilities that we've been talking about, skills for the future. Thank you both. I'm going to skip over that last question because we're running close to time today. So just in wrapping up, before we get to some question and answers, we framed this at the beginning in terms of, is this the end of learning as we know it, or perhaps the beginning of something better? What we're seeing in this year's Learning Trends report is a clean break from legacy models that used to guide learning and development. The traditional L&D playbook just doesn't cut it anymore in a world that's fast-moving and becoming more complex. We're moving beyond fixed training schedules and one-size-fits-it-all programs. In their place, learning that's flexible, that we've been hearing about today, personalized, definitely, and built around real human needs. At Simitri, we believe it's the beginning of a more strategic, more human, and more impactful era of learning, where capabilities, not roles, drive development, where ROI supports scale, but humans bring the meaning, and where learning earns its place at the leadership table by providing ROI, driving growth, and transforming capability. At Simitri, we're here to help you lead that shift. So let's shape what comes next together. We have a little QR code here for those of you who haven't downloaded the Learning Trends report. Please do so today. What we've tried to do is give a kind of a snippet overview, and of course with Mario and Barbara, give some perspective to those 3 learning trends and what they mean. As they're integrated in the business in Europe, they're getting a lot of feedback, and through their experience, gaining a lot of knowledge in the shifts and changes that are happening in the industry. I think we're right on time in terms of how we wanted to plan this session out. It's a time, instead of us talking, it's an opportunity for our friends out there, current clients, new friends of Simitri, to ask any questions or questions that may have come up during the last 50 minutes that you might want to ask, or perhaps even one of our own staff might have a question for us, having gone through the Learning Trends report. Or there may have been a question that came up on the chat. Was there any, Patricia, was there anything that came up on the chat that was a question that we might be able to help answer in the next couple of minutes?
Yep, sorry, I was on mute. I sent it in the chat. If you could prioritize just one of these 3 trends in your organization, which one would it be?
Oh, Mario,
Yes.
out of those 3 trends, which one might, I mean, that's a bit of a tough question, but maybe you have a perspective, and then I'll ask Barbara.
Well,
It's a tough one, I know.
Yeah, is the hard kind of situation where you need to eventually make a choice, isn't it? Nevertheless, I think we need really to look at trend number 2, I believe, in terms of I'm starting from a point of view of someone that works in the L&D industry. there is a big transformation in the way L&D is delivered, and therefore we need obviously to make L&D contemporary and aligned to what are the needs of the new organizations. And if we don't do that, using and applying AI solutions into the L&D space or helping organization to embrace AI in the right way, then we fail on trend number one, because obviously trend number one is critical in terms of developing the human-centric skills. And finally, we fail on trend number three, i.e. The ROI. So we need to look into how can we drive the transformation of L&D's programs, activities, and so on in a way that is almost anticipating what AI is going to bring to the organization in the future, because that is going to drive then the consequence of developing the human skills and then creating or delivering the training with an effective ROI.
Very, very thoughtful answer. I thought it was going to be difficult to choose one, but that was a great answer. Barbara, what do you think?
For me, it's trend number one, the end of learning as we know it. And my perspective on it is that budgets for L&D will not all of a sudden be dramatically increased unless there are reasons on a strategic level in a company. So I think for L&D managers, the point is how can you generate the best impact with your budget? And I see that the pure skill-driven trainings, I would see that this is going to go towards automatization when training content is being developed and also when it's being delivered. And it is like the money from that part, by being able to spend less on this, will then increase the impact on the human capability trainings. But that's my belief, at this point. But I think that's what is going to happen. And that also means, to really think about what is the culture of the company and what kind of culture do we want to be reflected in our human behaviors in the company, and then to design the training programs to facilitate this change. And these programs will probably not be one-off training sessions or 3 sessions of 3 hours or whatever is very common nowadays. I think there will be real programs over time where people will really be guided on a journey to develop capabilities and also to develop a network with their colleagues, because human interaction between leaders will also be quite important.
That's
can I add something on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite topics, but I think L&D leaders, L&D professionals need to work upwards before working downwards. And this is linked to what Barbara was saying, right? Was talking about in terms of it's not just the delivery of training and so on. To build a learning-centered culture in an organization, to foster positive behaviors and attitudes in the organization, the leaders, the C-level, must set an example. They must demonstrate their involvement and their commitment to learning initiatives. And this is why L&D leaders need to work upwards before working downwards. So the challenge for workforce learning and learning activities and so on is that is coming from the contagiousness from the leaders and the fact that behaviors are start to be seen from those that are seen in your organization, which very often obviously are the top managers and the leaders before being done by the employees.
It's change management in the end. It's a massive change that requires change management.
Very interesting. Thank you both for that. We might have one more question because I know we're getting close to our cutoff time. Patricia, do we have any more questions that have come up?
Yes, actually, Peter, I'd like to
Yes.
your attention to who has asked, AI and performance skills are such a big monster. What do you suggest to tackle? Which we can do today? I'll put it in the chat again.
So that, yeah,
Yeah.
put it on the chat for me.
So the person who asked the question maybe can elaborate a little bit about what is meant by AI performance skills.
To go back to my original
okay.
answers.
No,
Okay,
I see.
sorry.
AI and the performance skills are such a big monster. What would you suggest to tackle maybe first? What could you do today?
To go back to the question about are leaders ready to embrace AI, I give you a very an answer typical from consultant. It depends. So it depends on the maturity of the organization and also the business the organization is in and the markets. But the most important thing, or the starting point, is actually to map the application of AI within an organization, and based on the mapping, defining what are the skills and the capabilities that people are required in their job. So one of the things that is happening very much into many organizations is actually reshaping the competency mapping with the career mapping. And the competency, including in the competency mapping, the competencies about using artificial intelligence in their job and what people need to learn to move upwards within the organization. Barbara?
Yeah. I would start even a level down and relating to change management, really. I would create early success stories, meaning I would look for opportunities for people in the organization to really experience the advantage of AI. And I would look for, an example case that can then be used for communication and for creating buy-in, and also to give people a vision, because I think a lot of people don't have yet the vision of what could be possible. So success story. That's what I would do.
Thank you to both for tackling that question. Are there any? I think we're right on time now. I don't know if we've got any more questions. Was there any more questions you think we're able to answer, Patricia or Jack? We've only got about 2 minutes, I know.
No more from my side.
Okay, all right. Well, we're actually right on time, which is 3 o'clock. Look, thank you so much, everyone who's joined today. Again, we tried to make this, the Learning Trends report has a lot in it. And what we've tried to do is synthesize that and give you the key components out of the 3 trends, but also bring in Barbara and Mario to give a perspective, ask some questions around it. And look, if you have any burning questions, send them to us. We're happy to engage, talk more about this subject, which is, some of it can be quite challenging, but both exciting at the same time. So thank you to my colleagues in Europe, Mario and Barbara. Thank you very much for joining us today and sharing your point of view. Thanks for everybody else for being part of the Learning Trends report from Simitri this afternoon. And we hope to see you very soon. So thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, thanks. Thanks for
Bye-bye,
having me.
everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.